Call to order the February 10th meeting of the Cottage Grove Parks Recreation and Natural Resources Commission. Roll call.
Take him.
Did everyone have time to read the agenda? Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I approve the agenda from our last meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Here we have a chance to read the minutes from December 9th. We'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that goes. Open forum?
Doesn't look like we have any tonight.
All right. So up first is a presentation on pickleball programming.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. I'm actually going to turn it over to our recreations specialist, Noah, and he will go through pickleball programming for Cottage Grove.
Is it up on your screen?
It is not.
Not, okay.
But I guess I don't know if they're even on.
Push the PC there.
I see it's on camera. We're not.
All right, thank you, Parks Commission, for having me. My name is Noah Rainham. I'm a recreation specialist here at the City of Cottage Grove, and I'm excited to talk about our first year of pickleball. So to start it off, I'm going to talk a little bit about our advisory board. They are a 6-member group that is all volunteer-based. That is the eyes and ears of pickleball in Cottage Grove. So they date back to the opening days at Granada. Back in 2019, they started about a 20 to 30 member volunteer club at Granada Park, and they have evolved and grown into this awesome city-led program that we have today. And they are a great resource for all things pickleball. They're very knowledgeable, and they are our eyes and ears out at the courts. So moving into leagues, our first year as a city-led program, we offered a summer league. We had 9 men's doubles teams labeled MD on the graph and 17 co-ed doubles. So 26 teams all in all. Not bad for a first go-around. And then for the fall, we opened it up for singles. So we added 8 men's singles, as you see on the graph, along with women's doubles and women's singles. So for our fall league, we got 49 teams, which is almost double from the summer, which is a great sign of things to come. A couple photos on there of our summer and fall winners, and then just a flyer from our fall season. Moving on to our pickleball club, we had 230 members for the year 2024. That is a lot bigger than our volunteer-led 30 member group that we had beforehand. As a club member, you get access to priority court hours at both Glacier Valley and Granada Park. So in the morning, we split it club hours at Glacier Valley, midday at Granada Park, and in the evenings at Glacier Valley. One thing to note is if you are a club member or a not club member, while these priority times are happening for club members, open play is happening at the other courts at the same time. So there's always courts being used for club play and courts being used for open play. We offered one tournament for 2024. It was in sponsorship with the St. Paul Park and Newport Lions Club. It was a great day. We made it a whole Saturday in September. It was 22 teams, had co-ed doubles, big and little was a hit, and our open singles. This team pictured in the middle traveled all the way from La Crosse, Wisconsin. So it's pretty cool to see they made it out to Cottage Grove. And then our flyer for the tournament. Here's a snapshot of our budget for 2024. Adding a new park, adding a new program, pickleball at Glacier Valley. There's quite a few startup expenses. So we anticipate that number to obviously decrease after this year, after 2024. But a couple things that include our pickleball shed, some maintenance items such as brooms, blowers, squeegees, all that fun stuff that keeps those courts up and running all the time. So, moving into 2025, got a lot of great ideas. we want to increase our club membership to 300 members. That opens February 24th. In conjunction with that, we want to shorten our club windows from 5 hours to 3 hours, just to promote more pickleball, a better pickleball atmosphere, and more members at the courts at one time. Want to update some signage, including a QR code on site to make it easy to register for the club. Adding a spring tournament as pictured in the flyer to add, so we'll have a spring and fall tournament. And the demand for split level leagues is there. As you see on the flyer, we're offering competitive and rec level. We didn't have that in 2024. So splitting our league offerings and then adding youth and adult lessons. Looking at our 2025 calendar, we're gonna have 3 offerings of league, spring, summer, and fall. We'll have those 2 tournaments, a spring and fall tournament, and lessons coming up in July. Here's just a general snapshot of our budget for 2025. With the anticipation of more club members, we expect that revenue to go up, and the and the increase in league offerings and league teams per season. We also increase that to be. We also expect that to be a revenue generator for 2025. So in conclusion, pickleball was very successful in Cottage Grove. There's demand for more. After tournaments and leagues, we sent out league surveys, and I think out of 30 teams, only 1 team said they weren't going to come back because they wiped the floor with everybody else, but the demand is there for pickleball in Cottage Grove. And lastly, I want to thank our Parks Department. They did a fantastic job at ensuring the courts were available anytime people wanted to play. So thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Noah. Are there questions or comments?
Awesome. Thank you, Parks Commission.
What?
Well, good job. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
It's exciting to see all that interest.
Yeah.
and
It's really
all the
growing.
growth.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what time are the lessons going to be? Are you doing evening and weekend lessons?
Great question. So for adult lessons, we feel it's appropriate to bring in somebody certified to teach those intermediate, more advanced lessons. So we'll adhere to her schedule is probably midday to start, just because there's not a high demand for club hours and for open play hours. So starting kind of midday, seeing the demand that we get for that. And then same with our in-house youth lessons will be about the same of midday to start.
And what age do you start youth lessons?
That's a great
at?
question. We're gonna split it probably 8 and 11 years old, 8 to 11, and then 11 to 14 or so. But again, it's all up for debate. You know.
Okay, great, thank you.
Else? Thank you, Noah.
Thank you.
So, up next, action items, park naming for Peterson Park, potentially.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. We have an application for a park naming in front of you. It's a park that is currently not really in existence, I would say. I mean, we own a little bit of property down the lake, but it's not really a publicly accessible property right now. But as development is pending, we'll have the property around the lake, which will include trails, probably a small playground, picnic shelter, parking lot, things like that. So we do have a request before you. I included the park naming policy that tells you a little bit about the process. Obviously, we take park naming very serious because, to my knowledge, I don't think we've renamed a park. So once the name is picked, it usually sticks either for a really long time or forever. So it's a 3-meeting process at minimum. So today, I'm just submitting you the application. I hope you had time to read through it. I can certainly answer any questions you might have, or you can ask me to bring information back, or generate a list or whatever it is you want, and then I can bring some information back for the second meeting for more in-depth review. But today, not looking for any direction unless the commission decides that at any time you can deny the request with a majority decision. But when this is all done, it's a recommendation to City Council, who does make the final decision by resolution. So I will answer any questions you have or look for some direction from the commission at this point.
Questions from the commission?
I thought this area was Michael's Point. Is that a potential housing development, or is that attached to it, or they just make that up?
Yep, Commissioner Brown, Michael's Point is the development on the south end that's been there, I want to say maybe 10 years or so. So that's the little slice of property we own along the lake, but the north side of that lake has a pending development right now that's coming in, and when that happens, we'll pick up the entire property around the lake and then add trails and the park itself. But the park will be on the north side of the lake, just west of Jamaica.
Thank you.
I should say, the active part of the park in the parking lot.
Anyone else have questions for Zach?
So I live, is it the development north of the preserve? Is this where this park, is this?
Yes,
Okay.
Commissioner, that's correct.
Okay, yeah, 'cause-
That would be so Michael's Point would be just north of the preserve. That's the south end of the property that's there right now. And again, to the north of that lake is where a future development here in the next year or two is pending.
And so this is the park that's going to go in there?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because I received a letter from Pulte and it had the whole development listed and it didn't have any open space or park listed on
No?
what I
Couldn't you
had
kind of
received.
see it though? Because there was that space there that was blocked out. It looked like that was park area, even though they didn't say that was that. I was kind of hoping.
I did not see that letter, I don't know.
No, yeah, because we had reached out to Pulte because I believe they're the ones who are developing, are part of that development process and said, oh, well, we'd really like to see open space or a park because I think it's like almost like 90, close to 90 homes and close to 90 townhomes. So that's a pretty large development.
Yeah, so to my knowledge, Commissioners, Rachel, is it Rachel Development? Rachel, which is also the company that's building at Mississippi Dunes. So they're the builder, but I shouldn't say they're the builder. They're the developer of the lots, and then they sell off lots to people like, or companies like Pulte and others. So I don't know, yeah, Pulte must be one of the players in that development, but there could be multiple.
Okay, because yeah, it was a letter from Pulte, and then I think we got another letter from the Planning Commission, and so there was like multiple communications, and the original thing, it just looked like there was gonna be no park or no, no open space, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure the city's not going to have that go through with.
And it's a good talking point, Commissioners. If, the Planning Commission did just review that development at their last meeting, and the Parks and Trails were a part of that conversation. There's some residents there that are opposed to having the trail put in at Michael's Point behind their property. So there was some debate on that, and, but they talk about the development as a whole. So you can either look, I can help you get the information from the packet, or you can look up the packet or look up that video as well from the last meeting, so.
Looking at the proposed names, we don't have any parks right now that are named with two people and a last name, right? We just have like Peter Thompson and Hazen P. Moore, but we don't have any that would be like Roger and Myra Peterson.
Commissioner, or Chair Larson, we actually did just, Denzer Park is officially Jack and Marlise Denzer Park.
Okay, I thought it was.
That's the only other one.
Okay.
And I guess if you want to, yeah, we have the trail too for Conway and Katie Olson. We did that one too, so we did those consecutively.
Trail.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, we have two more meetings to go further.
So unless there, Commissioners, unless there's a motion to deny it, you don't have to take action tonight, and I'll just bring it back to the next meeting.
I'm not seeing one, so. Public Landscapes Initiative Program?
Thank you, Chair. Members of the Commission, periodically we review the Public Landscapes Initiative, and just a real brief summary on that program. Essentially, when development occurs and trees are removed from a property for development, whether it's commercial, industrial, or housing, if it results in a negative impact in terms of tree quantities, the developer is responsible to either replant trees on that property, or they can give money back to the Public Landscapes Initiative, which then we take that money and we can do landscaping around the community as a whole. So any public right-of-ways or parks or public facilities or things like that. So we've done lots of tree plantings, like I said, and lots of right-of-ways and parks. We've done habitat restoration with these funds. So what's before you now is just a guiding document that sets out a 5 to 6 year plan, and then we work with City Council to get that into the capital improvements plan in the fall. But we haven't reviewed this in a couple of years, so I wanted to get in front of the Parks Commission and get your feedback and your blessing for the program. And it is a malleable document, so if there's places or programs, you think there needs to be an infill of landscaping, we can certainly discuss that, but otherwise looking for an approval of the Public Landscapes Initiative.
Any questions or comments? I did want to ask, so I was reading through it, and it says we have a fund balance of $537,000. Is that because developers have been paying into this, or is it
Correct.
just always been that big?
It ebbs and flows. Right now, it's a little bit higher than I've seen, but one big project can take that, can drop that down pretty quickly. So, like the Hamlet Park, like when we did the Hamlet Park expansion, we were down to probably $200,000 a handful of years ago. So it's all development based, and the money kind of ebbs and flows through that fund. But typically, I would say we're in that $350,000 range. So,
Okay, I think that's the last time we saw it was when it was about half of that.
yeah,
So, okay.
yeah.
Any other questions? All right, we can keep moving. East Ravine,
Actually, I think if I could, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Public Landscape Initiative and place on file.
So if we can get a motion, a second, discussion, and then a vote.
I'll second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Now we can move to the East Ravine Park and Trail Master Plan.
Tell me I don't have to do this next time. If I get the right computer hookup, I can do it all from over there, but back to the old way today. Uh-oh.
Always IT.
They're hard to deal with, yeah. Let's see. All right, Chair, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, want to talk about the East Ravine Park and Trail Master Plan that the commission adopted, I think it was a few years ago, and that was all trying to get ahead of future development, which is something we've done for decades, right? We know a development might be coming, and we want to make sure that we're analyzing the potential for park and open space to make sure we get on that map before development gets too close or occurs. So we spent quite a few months studying this, and then those maps get adopted into the comprehensive plan. But now that development seems like it's becoming more closer to us. The council had a strategic planning workshop in a couple of weeks ago, a couple of Saturdays ago. And one of the comments, or one of the things staff brought to them was there was concern of, if we have 6 parks in there, the Trailway connections, and then a major community park, that there's going to be a funding shortage. Unlike 15 years ago, park dedication doesn't carry the weight of the cost of those parks and the land acquisition. Oftentimes, we're lucky to even get full land dedication. Roberts Lake is a good example of one of the parks where we probably won't even have enough money to acquire all the property, or it might be a wash, and then the city's gonna be responsible to build those parks out. So building parking lots, playgrounds, trails, picnic shelters, and whatever else might go in there. So it was a moment to sit down with council and say, we know there's a deficit, and it's a considerable deficit. I mean, it's millions of dollars, and try to get some direction from council in terms of how they want to see that process play out. Start planning for some of that funding now, talk about grant opportunities, talk about different land acquisition strategies and all those things. And we talked about all those things. And there's not a clear answer right now, but council wanted to hear from the Parks Commission and take another look at the Park and Trail Plan and kind of affirm or edit the Park and Trail Master Plan to make sure that we are still on board with the plan the way it is now. There is, when you look at our service radiuses, which I showed in the memo, there is quite a bit of overlap in there. But I will say, as staff, when we look at acquisition far into the future, we want to make sure we have more on there rather than less, because it's harder to add than it is to subtract. So it is an opportunity for the commission to take a look at it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope you had an opportunity to read it. I know I've had this plan in front of you several times. And really, I would say, speaking on behalf of the council and staff, I think what we're looking for is probably not an answer tonight, but any comments or feedback is helpful. and when I say not an answer tonight, maybe not a specific direction tonight, but the direction more to bring back some information to give you, answer some questions you may have. And, but at the end of this, I mean, we can leave the plan as is and then just wait for development to occur and deal with those things, deal with some of those things on a situational basis. We can adjust those service radiuses and look at eliminating a park or 2 parks. We could take a deeper dive into the and study, you know, the natural resources of the area. Commissioner Olson and I had talked about that, of maybe there's some additional studies that we can bring back that gives you guys some more information on why are we protecting this park. A good example is there's a park on there that's a small park. It's where a water tower is gonna go. Well, that property probably will be acquired through our utility fund, so we'll have that property there, similar to Meadowgrass Park up off of 70th Street. So those are opportunities we want to take advantage. Might not have any pristine natural resources, but it's an opportunity to get some land and build a small park. And the other thing to consider too is everything we've projected in terms of budgeting is for neighborhood parks, a larger community park. You can scale back the community park. Doesn't need to have 4 ball fields and 4 rectangular fields and some of those things we have in there. You can scale back neighborhood parks, and we haven't done them in a while, but you can do mini parks where it's just a picnic shelter and a playground, and that's about it, and on-street parking. So right now, what we're kind of planning for the higher budget neighborhood parks and community parks, but those can always be scaled back too. So threw a lot at you, but really want it to be more of an open conversation. And at the end of this, the mayor and council are looking for some guidance and feedback from the commission to make sure that this is the plan we want to pursue, and if there's opportunities to do things better.
When I was reviewing this, I mostly had questions. Seeing parks disappear from planning is always kind of scary to me because I think that's a point of pride for our city and it provides so many resources. But when I think about potential for development, I wonder about, well, what is that development going to look like? Are these going to be single-family homes? Are they going to be multifamily units? Like we're seeing a lot more growth of townhomes and apartments. And when we have that higher density of population, we need different sizes of parks to meet those needs. So it's kind of hard to anticipate what we could move without having more details on the types of development that we might see. I'm also curious about if there's potential for growth from the school district. We're seeing lots of overcrowding within our district right now. I don't know if there's a possibility that a school might be built in this area, because schools also have green spaces that sometimes includes ball fields and playgrounds that could be shared for community use, and that might impact where we want to concentrate certain amenities. And also just to know the personality of those areas as they develop, because our parks all offer different unique things. Like when you look at Still Ponds Park versus Peter Thompson Park, one's really kind of passive and contemplative and the other one's really active with lots of things to do. And just because they're close to each other doesn't mean they're meeting the same need. So it's kind of hard to see how to alter it without knowing more about what it's going to look like.
Those are good comments, Commissioner Brown, and I mentioned, it's a great example. If you have a market rate apartment with a lot of young families versus if you use that same property for a gated retirement community, the need for a park and trail, is completely different. So we don't really have those answers today. And I think that's why we're not looking for a direct answer, but it's just great points and all things that we're gonna have to consider. And I think that's what makes it challenging, but again, looking for if there's any aha moments or, but the answer might be, like you said, to stay with the plan and wait to see how development occurs.
Chair, if I could. So I agree with Susie's comments completely, and thank you for those. I'd like to better understand just what are the natural resources in this piece of property. That is part of the name of this commission. And what I read said to me that the deepest lake in the city of Cottage Grove is on this property. The beginning of the ravine that goes into the county's park, Cottage Grove Ravine Park, is also on this property. And so as we begin to think about developing it, I think it falls to this group to make sure that we understand the natural resources that are in this property and what we might do in order to protect them and leverage them, right? Because natural resources are for us to use, not just necessarily to sit there. But I feel like since I've been on this commission, a couple of times, we've been surprised by the natural resources that existed in developments after the property became developable and no turning back. And I'd like to avoid that while I'm on this commission for this upcoming development. So I'm somewhat concerned that the focus is entirely on parks. There isn't a whole lot of focus on what recreation we might be doing in this area, nor is there anything that I could really find other than the mention of this lake and this top of the ravine, or the north end of the ravine, relative to the actual natural resources in this area. Now, I don't know how to answer that question, but I'm asking it, and I'm going to keep asking it till I find an answer.
And if I may, Commissioner Olson, I can, we do have a natural resources inventory that does a pretty good job of the study. I will say it's aged, it's from 1997. So, but this could be a focus study for just that area that we could potentially go out and get some grant funding and do a updated natural resources management plan for this, or natural resources inventory for this area. So a little better study, because since 1997, that lake is actually, like, I think it's tripled in size. So things have changed.
So Zach, when you said we're closer to actually obtaining this land and things like that, what does that mean? Is that closer as in 10 years from now, or closer as in coming soon?
There's at least a couple landowners that are actively engaged in selling and developing their property.
Okay. And then without the shops at Cottage Grove or the community center down on the south end of this, would that still be, would we want to keep that as part of this plan? For they were mini parks at the time, but given it would probably be developed differently, or could be developed differently, would we want to change that?
I think the focus for this, Chair, is that section between Ravine Park and 70th Street to the north. That seems to be the main concern at the moment. We can look at the plan as a whole, but I would say that that's probably the primary concern at the moment.
Okay. I think Susie, you and I were probably the only two on the commission when we did this, was it 4 years ago?
I remember a lengthy discussion about whether the neighborhood park should be on Ravine Parkway or nestled in the neighborhoods. That's the part I remember.
And when you talk about the natural resources, we talk mostly about the larger park, and the neighborhood parks were not part of that conversation, so.
Well, I'd like to talk about the natural resources on the entire acreage, not just where the parks are.
Any other questions or comments, or?
So we don't have enough money for the full dream. Is that the issue?
If you think of it as a checkbook, no, we couldn't write out a check for it. But there's planning and there's strategies we can take, right? So it helps guide us if we know that we're gonna stick with this plan, then we know what our funding, where we can estimate our funding gap. And now you can, there's a myriad of ways you can manage that. You can make smaller parks, you can put in less equipment, you can identify grant funds, you can start to put away, the council could put away money through the levy or whatever else and start saving money towards that development. So there's a bunch of different ways we can manage it, but you can't manage it until you know what you're planning for. So I think that's the feedback the council's looking for.
So something like, should we prioritize another community park over neighborhood parks, or vice versa, or?
And that's Commissioner, I think that's probably the way I should have explained it is, if the commission says the number one feature in this neighborhood is that community park on the lake, then I think that's an important direction from the commission that, we want to make sure that that's built and it's built right. The neighborhood parks maybe can be reprioritized, or maybe we don't do all those neighborhood priority parks, or maybe there's enough of recreational amenities in that community park that you don't need all those in the neighborhood park. So that's the type of feedback they're looking for. The mayor just happens to be here if you have questions specifically for the mayor. He wasn't even here for this topic tonight.
Well, it sounds like it would be helpful to have information on natural resources, specifically around this proposed community park, as well as the neighborhoods around parks E, F, and G, since that seems to be the area that's more timely. Is that something that we could have access to in the next, couple of meetings? It wouldn't have to be a real in-depth study necessarily, but I'm thinking of previously when we've had park naming requests and we get an inventory of these are the people who lived here and these are the buildings that were there and stuff like that.
Correct. Yep, I can bring all that back for the March meeting.
And then if there's proposed, sales and stuff, do we have access to information about what type of development would be there? If it's more single family or multifamily or mixed zone, or I don't know all the right words, but that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I'm here. Myron Bailey, Mayor, Cottage Grove, thanks. I can just jump in a little bit. That entire area, including where they plan to put all the parks, was master planned quite a few years ago. And so the majority of the area, at least the way it sits right now, the majority of the area that would be near the big park, appears it'll be single family. As you get closer to 70th Street or Keats Avenue or 19, you might see some medium and higher density. Now, things can change. I have not seen anything as of yet from this developer, anything but for, at this point, single family. But an example would be the Walter Source property. Originally, that whole area was going to be single family, and now because of bedrock, they're putting in some townhomes on top of the single family. So when the developers finally get in there and kind of look at what can be built in that, there could be some tweaks. Do I see a major tweak in that particular area? No. I think the majority of it in that immediate area there, predominantly the tank farm, will be single family.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yep, you got her. Any other questions since I'm up here?
Well,
Right.
and maybe this is more for Zach, but does this area, does that include the water tower possibility kind of mini park business too?
Yes.
Okay, that level of detail I think would help us give a better idea of whether we can make major tweaks to this plan.
I'll try to get some information from our community development. I'm glad he was here because you never know what's a secret when it comes to development. And I never want to say the wrong thing, so thank you, Mayor.
And the corn stand will be, no, I was kidding.
Don't even, that was one of the,
That was literally one
Major
of the things that
concerns.
was brought up.
I believe it.
That is
Could be a
very
great park,
busy.
a farm-inspired park.
yeah,
They talked about with that roundabout that they're building right there.
yeah, yes.
So what's the formal way to do this? Do we say we table for more information?
Chair, I think I could probably help out. I think, so just let me rephrase. More information on potential development types, the zoning and the planning for that, and I'll get more into detail with our community development so we can affirm what I think we have planned there. I'll find out if there's any potential school development. I don't know of any now, but we'll at least look into it. And then a deeper dive on natural resources. I probably won't come, I'll bring you the 1997 inventory, but then I'll probably bring you an option two to look at a potential new what's the word I'm looking for? I will bring a proposal that you could look at to update the inventory. So if those are the directions, I guess we could look for a motion to move that staff bring back those 3 items and
I move that staff bring back those 3 items.
I'll make a motion to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is presentation of information on commissioner terms.
Very simple, Chair and Commission, just once again, giving you the term updates. And February 28th is actually the last day of anybody's expiring term. I've heard back from a few. I don't think I've heard back from everybody. So please take a look and let me know if you intend to or do not intend to serve another 2 years so that we can fill your position if need be. But we would love to have everybody back if possible.
No one wants to say anything now. No. Action updates.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. Looks like we have 6 updates from action that you've taken before. Denzer Park is off and running. They did some grading last fall. They'll get it back in and do some more grading, final grading this spring right away. If you drive by Denzer Park, you'll see there's an elevated area where we're gonna put that picnic shelter up top where you can get a look into Gray Cloud Dunes Scientific and Natural Area. So that berm is there, but there's still some final grading. There's even staking of where the trails are gonna go and where the playground's gonna go and the picnic shelter and all that. So that's coming right along. We've ordered the playground, we've ordered the picnic shelters. So things are on schedule to go in the spring. As we all know, Minnesota's weather is not always favorable, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a mid to late summer before this park actually gets up and functional. But we will get hard after that. Granada Park parking, we did take that to the Public Services Commission. And right now, staff has a proposal to potentially do, I can't remember, did this commission advise to do the off-street parking with the perpendicular parking? Is that what the, yeah.
Yeah, like
So that's the.
8 spots over to the side.
Yeah, so our intention is to do that next spring or summer with in-house labor and get that done to add, 10 spots or whatever it is. So that's gonna move forward
Zach, excuse me, you meant this summer, right?
this coming summer.
Right.
Yes. Cottage Grove Trailway Corridor Habitat Restoration Grant, that's for the property underneath the power lines, the city-owned property underneath the power lines between Hinton to the west and Imperial Avenue to the east. That's an extension of the Cottage Grove Trailway Corridor / Habitat Corridor there. We did remove a lot of invasive tree species and underbrush and dead and dying ash and box elder. We did get quite a few calls and concerns on it, but it seemed like most people I was able to talk to understood that what we're doing is a habitat restoration. It's not a demolition. So it's for the better, it's for the long-term success of that area. So the conversations I had were real good. Obviously, if you were on Facebook, that was probably, the conversation looked a little bit different. But I will tell you, the people I've talked to and the people I met with out on site and I was able to walk with, they seem to understand that this is a long-term investment and it's for the best. So that's going well. We are going to do Arbor Day out there. So a little tree replanting plan. We'll plant some different native bushes like hazelnut bushes and some plum trees and some things that'll improve the habitat there. We were going to postpone that a little bit, but there was quite a bit of concern about the restoration. So we wanted to get to the community early and try to get some opportunities for them to participate in that project. So that'll be fun. Oltman and Mississippi Dunes Park grants, as you may recall, we got $350,000 grants for each of those. For Oltman Park, we do have we expect the plans and specifications and the bidding to go to council here soon. Actually, it is out to bid. And then, so that park will be starting hopefully sometime this midsummer. Late summer. It could potentially be a 2-year project. It could be a 1-year project to develop, depending on the contractor that gets chosen for that project. But Oltman Park, that ball field complex, that will start this coming year. And then Mississippi Dunes Park, we're going to sit on that grant for a little bit. We do have until the end of 2026 to use that. We do have a few things happening. Council's looking at accepting a fishing pier grant agreement with the Minnesota DNR. That kind of came about really quickly, so we're excited to do that. And then also, I'll be working with the commission on a boat launch through the Minnesota DNR Parks and Trails and Fisheries Program, so I'll be bringing that to you hopefully in the next couple of months with the goal of having that put in 2026. The fishing pier will hopefully be 2025. The boat launch will be 2026. And if you're not aware, the 3M Priority 2 settlement dollars were released. I shouldn't say released. They released the request for proposal program, so we will be submitting for that. I think that's due end of, or first or second week of April. So we'll be bringing back to the commission next month, probably that proposal for them to go aggressively after funding for that for the rest of the amenities outside of the fishing launch and the the boat launch and the fishing pier. So lots happening there. The Kingston Park building is still, we're scheduled and hoping to be constructing that in early 2026. Right now, the schedule is to finish up plans and specifications here in the next couple of months, and then bring that to council in September or October to approve plans and specifications, and then go out to bid, and then close those bids before Thanksgiving, and then put a contractor on board to get that work done in, like I said, early 2026. So that'll probably be coming back to the commission one more time for a last review. And then if you don't recall, the site power upgrading, that will actually be happening this year. So hopefully that'll be ready by Strawberry Fest. If not Strawberry Fest, for sure before 4th of July. So we'll be adding all those site power upgrades this year. And then last but not least, I'm sorry, somebody say something? Oh, sorry, thought I heard something. My own voice. The last but not least, we did submit a memo to the city council. It was feedback from the strategic planning session about remodeling the ice arena. The original ice arena is from 1974. We did add to it and did some remodeling in 2008. And really what it's coming down to is the main area, as you walk into the lobby area, all the way through the back to the extent to the 2008 edition, it's a pretty inefficient use of space. We don't have enough office space. Noah moved in and he shared a desk for several months, a very small desk for several months. So we kind of have people on top of people. And then the concession stand is not a very efficient layout. If you've ever been to a very busy hockey game, pretty hard to get your pretzel and cheese and whatever else. There's not a lot of good flow there. There's quite a bit of square footage there. It's just an inefficient use of space because it was built in 1974. And when it was built for a completely different type of use than it is today. So we have a architect on board who's gonna take a look at what the opportunity is to move things around, move some walls, and then also just kind of upgrade the facade and make it look a little less like 1974, more like 2024, 25, so. So you'll see some modeling of that fairly soon. Those are all my updates.
Questions for Zach? All right. Any donations?
None tonight.
Staff reports.
Just submitted a report from each division manager, and we are here to answer questions if you have any.
Any questions for Molly or Jim?
And then the only thing I will add with the staff reports was the article on Parks and Recreation promoting economic vitality. One of the things that's been an interesting discussion, we've been talking about for a long time, but at the strategic planning session, the council and the staff team that were involved talked a lot about the economic vitality of our park system. And I think Commissioner Brown, you talked about the point of pride, parks are the point of pride in Cottage Grove. So we've had there's a lot of good conversation on that, and a lot of positive energy on that. And I think there's a recent study that was done for the Cottage Grove Convention and Visitors Bureau it's called Chandler Thinks. It's like a 74-page report. If anybody wants to see that report, it can, but it talks about the business in Cottage Grove and where people are coming from, what they're doing here, and how we can do things better to get more people to come to Cottage Grove, whether it's to live, work, or play. And it references a lot about Parks and Recreation in Cottage Grove as the primary draw for people to come to Cottage Grove. So whether it's to play a sport or to visit or whatever it is, Cottage Grove Parks and Recreation is a big draw for for Cottage Grove. And obviously we're trying to grow that in a myriad of ways, so. If anybody wants to see that report, you can email me and I can send it over to you.
Any questions or comments? All right. Can move on to commission comments. Mr. Olson, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I'm not about my Washington County report, about something else. So I read probably in the Journal that there'd been some vandalism at the disc golf park and maybe damage to one or more of their hole marks or tee box markings. Have they reached out to us yet to see if we'll be willing to help them with getting that fixed up? Because one of the other things that, or one thing that bothers me is we never spend our $10,000. And so I don't know if it's something we can offer or if they have to approach us, but this would seem to me, I mean, we've been a good partnership with them right along, and it would seem to me like the city, we ought to step up and help them replace these vandalized items. So I just wanted to see if anybody else on the commission had thoughts about that.
Commissioner Olson, they did reach out to us, and I don't know, maybe Jim can explain where we're at with repair if we have.
We haven't done any repairs on that one hole where the basket was broke off. We'll either have to replace it or dig it all out, bring it in and weld it for a temporary. I haven't seen the damage to it. My foreman went out and looked at it, and he said it looks like kids just pulled on it until they broke it. But otherwise, I don't think there's any other damage other than to that one hole, the one basket.
And we do have several tournaments coming up this year. I think the most we've ever had, so we definitely need to get that replaced before that. So I do have an email contact, and I will certainly reach out to him and see if they can help or need help or what it is. But we'll get it repaired one way or other before the first event. Weather pending. I think they have their first event is in March, right? Mm-hmm. So.
Any other commission comments or comments on the Washington County Parks Commission? All right. Council comments. I assume, Mr. Mayor, are you here for that?
I did submit the last 2 months of council agenda items, so if you have questions, the mayor's your man tonight.
There you go, yes. Councilmember Clausen is not available tonight, so that wasn't necessarily why I'm here, but I'm obviously here. I'd like to listen to you guys, and thank you all for your service to our community. I am open for any questions if you saw anything on those agenda items that you would like to hear more. While you're perusing, the only thing I will say, and Zach and the team here, all these guys here didn't mention it, one of the nice things sometimes that happens is every week we get like a weekly update from our staff, and they give us information about, what's going on within the community. And some of them I can, I'll put them out on social media just because I think it's kind of cool. One is, our ice arena is profitable. Last year, we sold $1 million worth of ice time, which is the first time that's ever happened in that ice arena. The concession stands did over $180,000 in sales, which is one of the highest grossing concession stands in the state of Minnesota in a facility, hockey arena like that. River Oaks Golf Course is profitable. So, I mean, there's all these neat things that you normally don't hear. So when we're talking about, putting money aside for parks and that, it's very awesome for our staff. And we couldn't do that if it weren't for our amazing staff and your guys' support, obviously, of continuing to focus on our recreational opportunities within this community. And we definitely have a name for ourselves here as it relates to our parks and our, whether it's disc golf. Unfortunately, we had that incident there, but we'll get her fixed and we'll work with them on that for the future. And then, ice arena, our park systems, the golf course and bike park. I mean, it could keep going and going and going. So other than that, unless you have something else, I'll just go back and sit down.
Is Councilman Clausen going to be our new liaison?
Yes, Chair Adams, Larson, excuse me. Yes, he will be your new council liaison. We did do a couple tweaks with some of the newer members, or newer member, just to kind of mix things up a little bit, so people get more aware of the different commissions that are out there. So yes, he is plans to be. And normally what we would do is whether it's myself or usually they would ask another council member to come in and sit in if they can't make it on any of the commissions. So I'll make sure Mr. Clausen knows that.
Okay. Any other questions? I can't say, I've eaten popcorn at pretty much every arena in Minnesota, and the popcorn in Cottage Grove is great, and it's only $2 still, which I don't understand.
thought that until I went to Northfield, their popcorn's great.
Yeah, their popcorn is good, and so is the pretzel, and for me, it's the pretzel with the salt. That's mine, that's for me.
Across the world, ice arenas.
I love it.
So, thanks again.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Is there a workshop tonight?
No workshop, just need
workshop.
adjournment,
All
if you're
right.
ready.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Can I make one?
I can make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, we're adjourned.